Thank you, Mr. Bowie. Thank you, Atomic Bowie. And it's great. I like it this way, standing room only. It's a good start. It's really great to be with you all here at conference. It was just last year that I arrived at conference as the fresh, new face of the Scottish Conservative and Unionist Party at the age of 51. Well, 12 long and challenging months later, as you can see, it has taken its toll. This face is not quite as fresh as it was a year ago. And I know because I look at the bathroom mirror every day and I see it looking back at me. And I reckon, in all honesty, that it will probably undergo some more rapid aging over the next short period. But, you know, these are difficult times. But that's absolutely fine with me because we are a party of resilience and resolve. We, its members, we share those same values. We know that all of Britain needs a strong Conservative Party, and we are going to deliver it. Yeah. Now, we have learned lessons since the general election. Alongside our straight-talking UK leader, Kemi Badenoch, I've been honest, we've both been honest about where we went wrong. On taxes, on immigration, on many other Conservative principles, we could and we should have done better. Now we're rediscovering our sense of purpose. We're reconnecting with the principles and the values that we all hold so dear. Now that might sound to some people like we're being nostalgic, looking to the past. Not so. Yes, we respect tradition, but we also acknowledge when things need to be put right. Common to all Conservatives is the desire to do better, to work hard to improve our lot, achieve our potential, and to make more of ourselves. Not for selfish reasons, but for family, for community, and for country. And that's what makes us Conservatives. And we know that the present, no matter how tough, is not permanent. We are looking to the future, guided by our party's proud history. We are determined to do things differently. We are a new Conservative Party. And let me share with you where I believe the Scottish Conservatives must stand now and in the future. Over the past year, we've engaged with those who have lost trust in our party. Since being elected, I've travelled to all points of Scotland to hear directly from real people. In the north, I've met workers in oil and gas and renewables. In the south, I've met farmers and hospitality workers. In the west, I've met apprentices and workers, shop workers. And in the east, I've met nurses and tech entrepreneurs. I'm speaking with every type of family. I'm speaking with volunteers, workers, the self-employed, pensioners, business owners, small, medium, and large. And this is the most common thing that I hear. Everything is too expensive. And I'm not just talking about the punishing rates of income tax, but everyday living costs. Folk feel crushed under the weight of constantly rising prices. They're frustrated at declining local services. They despair at the lack of opportunity for young people. And there's one primary cause of Scotland's national sense of malaise. And I believe that it represents the SNP's biggest failure in government. Now, conference, I know what you're all thinking. That's a pretty tough competition. But for me, the SNP's biggest failure is not schools, even though they've trashed Scottish education. It's not healthcare, even though 1 in 6 Scots is trapped on an NHS waiting list. It's not drugs deaths, even though we have the worst drugs deaths in Europe for 7 straight years. And it's not even their gender law, even though Nicola Sturgeon's beliefs are unhinged. I believe the SNP's biggest failure is the economy, specifically their lack of focus on growth. Scotland's economic growth has lagged behind the rest of the UK's since the SNP took power. This has cost our economy nearly £12 billion. That lost growth plagues every person in Scotland, strains every public service, and blights every aspect of our country. And it's why so many Scots are worse off than they were when the SNP came to power in 2007. And I don't just mean financially. I mean worse off in the quality of their lives. And sometimes it's hard to put that feeling into words, but we all know it, we all feel it. It's that impression we get when we're travelling to work, going about our business and looking around streets that were once thriving. I see it in my home city of Glasgow. I see it in Edinburgh, where I work. Scotland has been stuck for more than a decade. And that's because we've got an SNP government of grievance, a government fixated on constitutional destruction and not on good governance. We've got a government that treats business as an afterthought, a government that forces Scots to pay more tax than workers elsewhere in Britain, a government that forces business to comply with woke rules, a government that always favours the state sector, which spends money, over the private sector, which generates money. And all of this results in lost growth. And it has consequences for working people. It costs jobs, it costs investment, and it costs revenue for public services. It costs everybody the right to build a better life. And conference, we all know that John Swinney will do what he always does. He'll blame somebody else because that's the nationalist way. Say a big boy did it and then ran away. And John Swinney talks a good game on the economy, but he's absolutely no financial magician, unless we're talking about making people's wages disappear. He has been central to Scotland's lost era of growth and opportunity. He's no innocent bystander. John Swinney was Nicola Sturgeon's slavishly loyal Mr. Fix-It. He's been in the SNP cabinet for 17 of 18 years. He's been here for, I've counted them, not me personally, 810 government strategies and so many talking shops that they're impossible to even count. The tax rises that he imposed are already hitting people's pay packets. At the end of the next Parliament, God forbid if John Swinney wins another term, a family taking home £50,000 will have lost out on £7,638 due to SNP tax rises. And here's another devastating fact. Since income tax was dissolved 9 years ago, SNP tax increases have cost Scottish taxpayers £7.8 billion. So John Swinney is the problem. He is not the solution. He is the block on change, not the man to make it happen. And there's that word, change. Labour, you may have noticed, can barely bring themselves to say the word anymore. It won them an election, but their failure to deliver change has lost them the country. Their national insurance hike didn't just break the economy, it was a massive broken promise to the people of this country. It caused jobs and investment, and it has destroyed any chance of growth in the economy. And it has left people feeling that change is now impossible. And this is what has caused some people to look towards Reform UK. But they have even less regard for sound money than the Labour Party, as hard as that is to believe. They don't believe in fiscal responsibility as we do. They are not Conservatives. They support increasing benefits, nationalising oil and gas, and leaving a dangerous debt burden to future generations. So no wonder, frankly, so many Reform candidates support Scottish independence, because they're both economic vandals. Our party is the only one that offers the sensible and realistic change that our country needs. Driving up growth is the only way to fix public services. A rising economy produces higher tax revenues that our NHS, schools, and other public services all rely upon. But revitalising our economy is about more than just what the government can do. It's about what families, workers, businesses, and communities are able to do. huge numbers of people suffer a life of precarious work or even reliance on the state. Many families do fine, but they don't see any way to do better, no matter how hard they toil. Those who want to start their own business often feel they won't be rewarded for taking that risk. In Scotland, there are too few opportunities for the aspirational and the ambitious. So whole communities are kept behind. They're held back, and workers in many sectors just cannot achieve their full potential. They're deprived of the chance to learn new skills, earn more, win promotion, or to start out on their own. The SNP expects everyone to stay in their lane and to forget their ambition. Now, the SNP wants to turn Scotland into a country that rewards skivers and not strivers. The consequence of this nationwide lack of opportunity is a mass decline in quality of life. Living standards for most are similar to where they were when the SNP came into power in 2007. And the amount of disposable income, pounds in people's pockets, that households have has actually fallen in real terms. That's 18 years of stagnation for real people. Now, people don't just feel worse off in financial terms. They feel boxed in with no escape route. They feel that nothing will improve their lot, no matter how hard they work or what sacrifices they make. Tackling Scotland's economic despair is what the Scottish Conservative Party, under my leadership, is setting out to change. Going forward, we are going to stand for economic growth above all else. The economy will be topic number one, always. We will work hard to be Scotland's party of economic opportunity, rising living standards and a better quality of life. Our focus will be on unleashing entrepreneurs and backing small businesses with big ambitions. We want business to inform government policy, not for government to dictate to business. We'll stand for conservative economic values of fiscal responsibility, sound money, efficient spending, self-reliance, and more freedom for people to aspire, and cutting red tape to encourage all of the above. Our economy-first approach would allow people to keep more of their hard-earned pounds, because that would build economic confidence and help to create growth. We understand that growth is the only responsible and sustainable way to pay for better public services. A stronger economy can unlock quicker GP appointments, raise school standards, fix the roads, and everything else that is so desperately needed in Scotland. And that's where my party stands, and it's where we believe everyone in the Scottish Parliament should also stand. Because I believe there's a gulf between the public and politicians, and there's an even bigger gulf between business and politicians. Business people think that Holyrood hinders them rather than helps them. They believe, quite rightly, that far too many MSPs don't understand their challenges. The Conservative Party has always stood up for business, while the SNP and Labour stand against it. But we need to do even better. We must be the true party of business once again, always on the side of the entrepreneur, the innovator, the ambitious, the aspirational, the small businesses who make our country tick. And let me share with you briefly how I intend to do that. Now, to ensure that we remain the party of business in Scotland, I'm today launching our biggest policy programme drive in a generation. I've recruited some of my most experienced and knowledgeable MSP colleagues to do so. I see Mr. Kerris with me here today. They will work alongside members of the business community. They will produce a detailed strategy for Scotland's economy ahead of next year's crucial Scottish Parliament election. This blueprint for economic growth will ensure that the Scottish Conservatives will fight on an election platform of making a tangible difference to people's lives. We've already begun the fresh thinking that's needed. Last week I launched a new economic policy paper. Our central suggestion for that was that the economy should be the top priority for government. For every single minister, for every single civil servant, the economy should inform every single Scottish government decision and action. And that's what we will campaign for, because it's the only way to get Scotland back on track after 18 wasted years under the SNP. And we're also seeking a fundamental shift in the relationship between government and business. Not another tedious SNP-style reset which achieves absolutely nothing, but a genuine change in how Holyrood works. Politicians must stop treating business as if they're the enemy, a source of taxes and nothing more. Businesses should have a seat at the table and shape thinking. The private sector should no longer be seen as inferior to the state sector. And I'll give you a couple of examples of this damaging SNP mindset. When the SNP sought to expand free childcare, they rigged the process in favour of public nurseries. And this drove some private nurseries out of business, which made the situation even worse for parents. And then there's HMP Kilmarnock, which was Scotland's best run and most effective prison, and privately operated. But the SNP nationalised it. This has cost taxpayers millions of pounds, made the officers less safe and the prison less effective. The SNP's anti-private sector ideology must end. We challenge their vacuous belief that the public sector is somehow more virtuous. Now, we Conservatives champion, appreciate and nurture the spirit of free enterprise. We demand a seismic change in how Holyrood views budgets and tax. The other parties in the Scottish Parliament regard saving taxpayers' money as somehow morally wrong. They view tax hikes as virtuous and tax cuts as vulgar. What I believe is very, very different. Government should make savings in its own spending. They should treat every pound, indeed every penny, with respect. Because it's not the SNP's money, it's not Holyrood's money, and it's not government's money. It's taxpayers' money. And workers demand more of what they make. Because that freedom allows people to make the best choices for their families. And I tell you what, I trust all of you and the people of Scotland to spend money more wisely than those useless SNP ministers up the road in Edinburgh. And allow me to make one more point about the economy. And some people might think this doesn't need to be said, but I really believe that it does. We will always stand up for Scotland's proud place in the United Kingdom. That is the best single economic decision that Scotland can take. The UK market is our strongest source of jobs, trade and investment. Scotland should be focused on building and leading Britain, not breaking and leaving Britain. This needs to be said because John Swinney's SNP are again agitating for independence. The truth is, they've never, ever really stopped, not since 2014. So today, I have a message to the SNP leader. Move on, John. Yeah. If somebody can just send him that clip, that'd be great. Now, while the SNP waste more money and time on taxpayer-funded independence papers, the Scottish Conservative Party is focused on economic growth because economic growth is essential to Scotland's success. We will provide common sense solutions to improve people's lives by firing up Scotland's economy. Kick-starting growth is the only way to cut NHS waiting lists, invest in education and fix public services. Scotland's economy needs to get back on track because if it does not, public services will decline even further. People will keep paying more to get less. The result will be lower living standards and a poorer quality of life. Conference, we Conservatives can never put up with that. So, a major reset in Scotland's economic approach is what I'm calling for today. A Scotland that is once again open for business, that values job creators and respects individual effort, where opportunities are there for those with the drive to seize them. A country that encourages aspiration instead of crushing ambition, and where the Scottish spirit of innovation can once again thrive. Thank you very much, Conference. Thank you.